There are moments in the hidden world of intelligence when a single discovery threatens to rewrite the rules of global power. Moments when something that should be impossible suddenly becomes real, destabilizing the quiet architecture that keeps nations in balance. It began with a whisper inside the classified corridors of digital surveillance, an encrypted transmission so complex that it defied every known computational capability. It moved like a ghost through the world's networks, leaving behind no origin, no destination, just a shard of code that should not have existed. And for the CIA, this anomaly marked the beginning of an operation that would push the limits of what human intelligence, technology, and secrecy could withstand. Within the heart of Langley, where the hum of servers forms a backdrop to the rhythms of global monitoring, analysts first noticed the anomaly during a routine capture sweep. The packet was smalled, just a fraction of data traveling between anonymous endpoints, but its encryption was unlike anything previously cataloged. It was not a variation of existing systems, not an evolution of a known foreign cipher. It was something entirely new. The intelligence environment reacted with quiet precision. Specialists from signals intelligence and cyber operations converged on the discovery, running simulations, cross-referencing protocols, and attempting to reverse engineer the structure. Yet every attempt to decode it failed. It behaved like a living system, shifting in microscopic ways, adapting to every analytical approach. The CIA had encountered a cipher that, by all known standards, should have been unbreakable. The discovery phase unfolded in a pattern of growing unease. Satellite-linked data streams reported similar encrypted bursts appearing across different continents, all bearing the same spectral signature. Analysts mapped the points of origin, revealing no geopolitical pattern, no recognizable adversary, no familiar communication architecture. The transmissions were too short to analyze deeply, too fast to trace, disappearing before most systems could even register their presence. But the repetition was undeniable. Something, somewhere, was using an advanced encryption method that outpaced global cryptographic capabilities by at least a decade. Signals intelligence teams began to notice correlations. The bursts often appeared just after high-level diplomatic movements, covert military maneuvers, and unexplained financial shifts. The early signs suggested coordination, silent, invisible, perfectly concealed. As the implications deepened, escalation became inevitable. The CIA formed a black-level task force, drawing experts in quantum computing, cryptanalysis, counterintelligence, and satellite surveillance. Their identities were sealed, their movements unlogged, their work hidden even from most internal oversight. The group operated in a secure underground facility reserved for operations deemed too sensitive for conventional channels. Within days, the clues began tightening around them. Field agents reported clandestine meetings between covert actors in neutral territories. Surveillance drones captured briefcase exchanges followed by sudden digital noise spikes. Cyber specialists documented attempts to mask the encrypted bursts behind civilian communication traffic. Every indicator pointed toward an organized, disciplined intelligence network, one capable of using a cipher system the world didn't yet understand. The confirmation struck like a quiet detonation. A deep-cover operative embedded within a foreign technology conglomerate intercepted fragments of internal research discussing a covert program dedicated to next-generation cryptography. The recovered documentation confirmed that a coalition of rogue technologists, backed by a shadow state actor, had developed an advanced encryption lattice capable of shielding operations from every existing intelligence apparatus. Satellite scans revealed hidden installations connected through laser-based communications. Intercepted flash transmissions referenced operations coordinated across continents. And buried inside the cipher's mathematical structure, analysts identified a pattern that confirmed their worst fear. This wasn't just encryption. It was an adaptive intelligence system capable of rewriting its own code. The CIA was not facing a cipher. They were facing an evolving cryptographic organism. The agency's response unfolded with the precision of a covert digital war. Quantum computing clusters were redirected to focus solely on the cipher. Cyber infiltration units silently targeted network nodes associated with the transmissions, embedding invisible probes into dark fiber channels. Field operatives shadowed suspected architects of the encryption lattice, mapping their connections, their behaviors, their vulnerabilities. A specialized division orchestrated sabotage missions disguised as accidental outages, forcing the shadow network to reroute its communication paths. Surveillance intensified globally, with satellite arrays tracking anomalous spectral signatures in real time. Every movement was calculated to avoid alerting the enemy network while slowly tightening the noose around its most critical nodes. But the cipher resisted every attempt to break it. Each infiltration, each code injection, each computational assault triggered microscopic alterations within the encryption lattice, as if the system sensed external pressure and adapted to remain unbreakable. The tension inside the task force grew. Analysts worked in rotating shifts, analyzing waveform shifts, structural anomalies, and temporal distortions in the transmissions. Field intelligence gathered metadata from compromised devices. Even psychological analysts were brought in to study the behavior of the architects behind the cipher, hoping to identify human flaws that might lead to an entry point. The urgency was constant. If an adversary possessed unbreakable encryption, they possessed the ability to coordinate covert operations across the world without detection. A strategic advantage that could destabilize entire nations. The climax emerged from an unexpected corner of the operation. Quantum mathematics specialist identified a microscopic inconsistency within a specific cluster of packets in irregularity, so small it would have been impossible to detect without months of accumulated data. The anomaly appeared in bursts transmitted at high altitudes, likely relayed through a mobile node disguised as a civilian aircraft. The inconsistency suggested a flaw, not in the encryption itself, but in the system that generated it. The encryption lattice relied on synchronized quantum states across multiple locations. One of those nodes was drifting out of sync. The task force realized they had a narrow window, a structural vulnerability in the system's clocking mechanism. They could influence the drift, even by fractions of a millisecond. They could force the cipher to reveal a transitional moment when it briefly restructured itself, exposing its internal architecture. The CIA initiated a multi-layered operation that spanned digital warfare and physical intervention. Cyber teams launched a coordinated pulse into targeted network segments, nudging the drifting node further off balance. At the same time, field agents covertly intercepted the mobile relay platform, installing a hidden device designed to amplify the desynchronization. Satellite units monitored the cipher's behavior in real time, waiting for the precise instant when the encryption lattice would destabilize. The tension inside the operations center was palpable. For hours, the system resisted, adjusting, compensating, fighting to maintain equilibrium. Then, in a moment that would later be described as nothing short of a computational eclipse, the encryption lattice faltered. For a fraction of a second, its architecture unfolded, exposing a blueprint of the system, a roadmap to its core logic. The cipher that was believed unbreakable finally revealed its secret. The breakthrough cascaded like a silent storm. Analysts decrypted the intercepted transmissions, revealing covert operations, espionage networks, financial manipulations, and strategies designed to compromise international institutions. The Rogue Coalition's plan was breathtakingly ambitious: to create an intelligence ecosystem so encrypted, so invisible, that it could operate as a shadow empire beneath the world's geopolitical surface. But now the CIA had visibility into every node, every actor, every hidden agenda. The agency moved with surgical precision, dismantling the shadow network piece by piece. Operations were neutralized without confrontation. Assets quietly disappeared from the field. Critical infrastructure being targeted was silently reinforced. Financial channels were frozen under the guise of regulatory audits. The rogue architects, unaware their cipher had been breached, continued transmitting sensitive data into a system the CIA now fully controlled. The resolution unfolded without a whisper of acknowledgement. No media outlet reported the global threat that had nearly taken shape. No government issued statements about the encryption war fought in absolute secrecy. The CIA sealed the operation behind classified designations, burying the details so deeply that only a handful of individuals would ever know how close the world had come to a new era of undetectable espionage. The Shadow Coalition's network collapsed quietly, its members scattered, its infrastructure repurposed, its ambitions dismantled without a single headline. In the quiet that followed, a final reflection lingered within the halls of the intelligence community. The boundary between security and catastrophe had again been measured in seconds, in fragments of code. In the silent determination of people whose names would never be spoken publicly, intelligence work thrives in the space between what the world sees and what it never will. The greatest victories leave no trace, no celebration, no recognition, no lies, that somewhere a threat was extinguished before it became history. And as long as encryption evolves, as long as adversaries seek new ways to hide in the shadows, the unseen guardians of the intelligence world will continue their fight in silence, confronting dangers that most will never know existed.